everyone, it's Kamal Fernandez here from Kamal Fernandez Dog Training, looking a little bit hairier. Lack of haircut, hair is getting too long. Obviously, everybody's in the current unknown with the coronavirus across the globe, and I've been doing a series called Lifting All Ships, inspired by the mantra, a rising tide lifts all ships, in the thinking that if we all pull together and support each other in this testing, challenging time, we can be better for it, and therefore move through this time with the unknown challenges in a positive manner. I've been reaching out to people that I consider friends, peers, mentors, people that I look up to, that not only are the top of their game in terms of dog training, but they also have an understanding of the online aspect, which a lot of people are gravitating to in this current climate. The person I have across from me is the fantastic Marita Davies, the better half of my really good friend Craig Ogilvie, and she's very graciously given us some of our time to converse with her. Marita is a top-level agility competitor, been at the Worlds, been at Crufts with her Border Collie Duca, and she's also the dog that is being cuddled at the moment has also competed at Crufts. He's a multiple CC winner, and he's the top of his respective discipline, which is agility, and he competes incredibly successfully. Marita has had a meteoric rise to that level, only being in agility a relatively short space of time, but has already made up an agility champion, which is the highest accolade that anybody in that sport can achieve. So phenomenally successful, a really, really gracious person, and an all-around good egg. So I thought I would tap into her to connect and give us some of her thoughts. So how are you guys doing? Firstly, how are you keeping?
I'm keeping really well, thank you. Keeping myself busy.
Hopefully cracking that whip with Craig.
Just one job a day, just one job.
Otherwise, it could end really badly for you both.
Yeah, it could be. It might get a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah. How's it all going? Because obviously you've got a lot to do at your place. You've loads of things to do, I expect.
Yeah, we're really lucky in terms of that we moved in last August, and obviously it was still agility season then, and obviously Craig was working a lot, so we got a bit done around the farm at Christmas, but not really having much time to renovate, so we've got a lot of time now, we seem to be ploughing through the jobs now.
Yeah, and the place is going to be amazing once you chip away at it. So Marita, if you just tell us a little bit about how you got into agility, and how that you came to where you are today then.
So I first started agility with my Jack Russell, who's now 10. I started teaching her tricks from a young age, and that's always been quite heavily my passion, as well as agility. But it started with tricks, and then I thought I wanted to do something else. So I did go to an obedience club. I wasn't that patient, and I've always been really athletic, so I know I needed to run more. So I saw a local agility club and thought I'd go and give it a go with the Jack Russell Isla. We had fun, but I would say that if we look back now in terms of the foundations and things we did, it wasn't what we would do now, but we sure had fun. And then when I rescued Harvey, I knew I wanted to get into it with him, but it's still not until he was about, I think, 18 months that he started. And we'd moved by then, so we went to another local club. But I soon wanted to progress a little bit faster than a club environment. So I looked into buying my own equipment, and also started watching top handlers at shows and seeing who I thought would be beneficial to go for one-to-ones with. And that's where it went from there. Bought my own equipment, hired field, got a little bit obsessed, and then started to go. I actually went to Martin Reed in the beginning for one-to-ones, and he taught Harvey a lot, so we're really grateful for him still.
Yeah, excellent. And then, so where did it all stem from there? So obviously you did your trick training. How did you just figure that out yourself, or what did you do to start that off then?
It was a bit of a combination, really. So it was messing about with Isla, really. I had a gap year in between coming out of college and going to university, because I didn't know what I was going to gonna do. So in that year I got Isla and I had a lot of time, so we just a lot of messing about, trial and error, and then also then just going online and seeing how to do different tricks and working it out for ourselves.
So which online courses did you do with her then? Who did you gravitate to?
With Isla, I didn't do any online courses. It was more just like YouTube, how to teach a trick, things like that in the beginning. But it was when I got Harvey later down the line and I got more and more into complex tricks, it was actually Sylvia.
Sylvia Trickman.
Yeah, Trickman. She's just been my favourite for trick training, and a lot of what I do comes from there.
Sylvia Trickman, for those that are watching, is a multi-world champion agility trainer from Slovenia. And she's absolutely, her YouTube page I think is Yoli 55, is it Yoli 555 off the top of my head, but she's amazing. If you go on her YouTube, just put in Sylvia Silvia Trickman Trkman. I'll share that in this post as well. Absolutely phenomenal, and I think she's inspired a lot of people, including myself. So really, great one to source as a point of reference. So you obviously trained Isla, and then you progressed it with Harvey, and you got more into the agility world, etc. And then it started to you became more successful. He's obviously in champ. Has he won 2 tickets?
One ticket and 4 reserves.
Wow, really? And how old is he?
Harv has just turned 8.
Right. So hopefully, fingers crossed, with a bit of luck and wind behind you might be all right to hopefully make him up.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, he looks poised, ready to go at any moment. Bless him.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
So tell us a little bit about Juka then, your current, your youngest, your youngest dog.
Well, when I had Harvey, although he's taught me so much, he's always going to be that dog that's taught me a lot of lessons. But because he wasn't a pedigree, I always knew that going to the STI World Championships wasn't going to be a possibility for him. And so although he got to the EOs and it was a great achievement, I wanted the next step. And I knew that the next step would be to get a pedigree dog. Therefore, that's why I chose Juka. And I thought trying a different breed as well. I've not had the same breed twice so far, so... Yeah, I keep trying different breeds.
So do you think you'll stick with you're going to stick with Border Collies for the moment then, because clearly they're the dog that best suited to the discipline that you do.
Yes.
And what has she been like to train? Because she hasn't been the easiest, has she?
No, not at all. She's very clever, but she's also very the word sensitive is a little bit. I don't like to use it, but she's worried about strange things that you don't expect are going to occur. So you can be in the middle of a training session. For example, the other day we were doing a trick training session. Her foot hit the treat jar, and all of a sudden she was like, "Oh my god, I can't do anything anymore."
Wow, really?
And you're just like, okay, why? But then she can run full speed over a dog walk. She just does strange behaviors. But at the same time, she's very smart. Harvey's been the easiest to train in terms of tricks, but
really?
Juka, oh gosh, yes, he can teach him a trick really quickly.
Wow.
Whereas Juka is super quick learner with agility. That's just her thing.
Right. So it's good that you've adapted to all the dogs that you've had. You've had a Jack Russell, obviously a German Spitz and a Border Collie. And again, amazingly successful considering the time that you've been agility. The other thing that people may not know about you is that you actually have a really interesting story, for want of a better term, that really articulates dealing with challenges that life throws at you. And I think that would be really inspirational for people if you're willing to share that about your journey and how you were dealt a bit of a rough blow and how you have most definitely flourished from it. Do you want to just talk about that, Marita?
Sure. So I'm guessing you're talking about the car crash that I had. So when I was 15 years old, I was in a major car accident where the car went into a bus stop. The driver was speeding, unfortunately. Bad decision as a teenager. And he drove into a bus stop. But when the car hit the bus stop, a lamp post also fell and crushed the car at the same time on my side. There was 3 other people in the car who managed to get out, but I had to be cut out.
Wow.
And it unfortunately resulted in me breaking my thoracic 12, so in the middle of my back, and my left ankle was pinned. So that resulted in quite a long rehab process. So I had to lay flat in a bed for around 3 months in my mum's living room. Wow. This was when so then it was the same year that I was just turning 16, so I had my GCSEs to take. And then obviously then I had to sort of build up my muscles again, so it was like then I was in a wheelchair and then crutches. So overall it was about a 2-year process of rehabbing. And that's where I didn't know if I could go to college. I managed to go to college later on, but a different one to everyone else because it was last minute. And that's when I ended up after college just taking a year out because I didn't know, everything was a bit chaotic. And that's when I got Isla. And my parents were a little bit unsure if I should get a dog at that age, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because she was the one that sort of set me on a path of where I want to go. I was a little bit lost after the car crash. Physically, I was still recovering for many, many years, and psychologically, it did a lot of damage at the time. So recovering from that, a lot of it was down to Isla. She was there through it, every day. She was by my side, and the focus of doing the tricks and then getting into the agility just took my mind off everything. So that's really where it all stemmed from.
That's quite. I mean, there's so many things there to draw on. I mean, firstly, what a rough blow to be dealt. Basically, you world over has been put in the same position, dealt a card that they weren't anticipating, and it also the uncertainty, the restrictions on your freedom and your physical movement. Again, parallels to the situation that we're in now. So, can you share with us then how you mentally dealt with that, because that would be a really powerful thing for people to hear about, because that must have been a really, especially at that age, and I know there's children or kids out there now that have had their GCSEs, again, similar sort of situation. How did you mentally deal with that? Because it must have given you a real strength as a result of all that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think maybe at the time I realised, but certainly years down the line, I realised how much it made me a more focused person and probably more driven to achieve what I wanted to achieve, because at the time a lot of it had been taken away from me. Yeah. I think taking it day by day at the time was how I dealt with it, because if I looked at it in terms of all of my injuries and what I'd lost out on, I mean, even losing friends at the time because we were young and they couldn't deal with the trauma themselves. So I just had to take it day by day and set smaller goals. So I can't get in to make my GCSEs, but that doesn't mean I can't take my GCSEs. What can we do to still make this happen? So I carried on my studying at home. I had to lay flat in my bed, but as long as my mum gave me my books, I can still study. So I was still studying, and then I could bring practice papers to me to try and still carry on with the process rather than just giving up completely. And then once I was walking again, I remember getting to the gym because I've always loved the gym.
So were you active? Were you very active before that happened then? Were you an active person?
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't say I was going to the gym because I was quite young, but I was doing sports, so I would play every sport I could. I just love to be active. I did trampolining when I was younger and horse riding. So those were two activities that were definitely off the cards for a long time because of the pressure. So it was just finding new things and going to the gym. It was frustrating at times when I couldn't do everything I had done in the past in the gym. But I just found an alternate that I could do. So if I went to say like a group class, then I would just, if they had weights on their bar, then I would just use the bar. So I was just always finding an alternate rather than just saying, right, I'll just forget it. Just find little steps that I can say, right, I can achieve that. And then when you do achieve that, and then when I put my first 2.5 kilogram weights on that bar, I mean, that was a huge achievement for me. And it didn't matter about who was next to me lifting a lot of weight, because they hadn't been through the same as I had been through. So
that's a really, really empowering point to make of one, certainly people that are struggling with this moment, is to be ready to adapt and focus on what you can control. So don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about, you know, what I can't do, or I used to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Focus on what you can do. If you can do that little positive thing for you, you are going to make an inroads into dealing with this situation. So when you were able, obviously your rehab took an extensive period of time. We're all in the beginning of this, you know, this situation. And your situation went on for quite a protracted amount of time. How did you then deal with the longevity of it all then? How did you, you know, keep yourself upbeat and focused and positive, and because it must have been quite a, for somebody so young, certainly at adolescence, it must have been a huge thing for you to deal with. How did you then work through that then over such an extensive period of time?
I think it was finding what I enjoyed, what I loved to do. So once I got Isla, I soon found out that was dog training. So that's getting into the tricks. So I set routines without knowing it at that point. So each day I would wake up and all I wanted to do was train Isla, because she was, you know, she was only young. And so we'd do, say, like a trick session in the morning. I'd go about my day, we'd do one at midday and then one in the afternoon. And those little points throughout the day, I was always looking forward to getting to my trick session.
That's a great piece of advice, So
it was always like, say I had to do, I don't know, if I was doing a bit of studying or something, it was like, right, do a trick session, I enjoy that, a bit of studying, and then don't worry, because in a few hours you can do another trick session, because I loved that. So it was always having those little markers of the things I loved and enjoyed. And I mean, I moved to London quite young, because that was something that I wanted to do. And I think the whole accident made me be a bit more how do you describe it? I was just happy to go ahead with things more. I didn't hold back anymore. I was like, I want to move to London. Okay, let's go. I wanted to renovate a house. Okay, let's do it. I didn't feel held back anymore, and I think that's been. I'm really grateful for that.
It's so funny, Marita, and that, you know, the thing that I discussed with one of the other talks was about how people are so inhibited by fear. And how fear in this climate is definitely the thing that we are being indoctrinated and fed constantly. Social media and the news about, you know, I'm not belittling the state of affairs in any way, shape or form. I want to be really clear about that. But there is also that fear that people are feeling of, you know, the unknown and the impending doom, etc. And I think that from that can actually be drawn something really empowering of that, you know, like, do the things, focus on the things that you can control, and that's a great takeaway for a competitor as well, certainly for somebody that competes at our top level. Only focus on the things that you can control. Give yourself things to look forward to in your day. Take it each day, just one step at a time. You know, again, routine is amazingly good to keep you structured and focused. Get up in the morning. Funny enough, just before we got on the call, I was doing an online class of oh God, what's it called? I've lost my brain now. But anyway, a cardio class. So that was my little bit of exercise. I'll do another session. So that gives me things to, like you said, to anchor onto. So then I have structure in my day. I think one of the most really dangerous things is when you don't have things to focus on in your day, and then what happens is you start clock watching, and you're then tapping your fingers and feeling that, like, oh, I don't have anything, I'm getting low about this situation, I can't do the things. So create things, give yourself, like, dog training is a huge one. You know, I'm being very I'm going out several times a day and training my dogs, you know, little 5-minute sessions, again, interspersing. You know, Marita's really keen on exercise. I am, obviously I have that half is Craig, so it's something that definitely anchors us. It keeps us focused, and it gives us definitely a structure. So we input our workout in our day, then we do a bit of work online, then we train our dogs. Before you know it, the day's gone, and then you're on to the next day. You know, that's really excellent. So just share with us, if you don't mind, a little bit of, you know, you turned so first off, with your studying, did you get through your GCSEs and etc.? And what did you do with your education?
Yeah, I always managed to get in on a lot of painkillers. I was in a wheelchair. They managed to get me into the hall, and I took them in my wheelchair. So I was managed to do them. So I got into college, and then strangely enough, even though I didn't enjoy studying, I went on to university and did my degree. So
that's amazing. In what? Yeah, what did you do your degree in?
Psychology.
Wow, amazing. So that if ever there was an inspirational story you need to hear of how you can turn lemons into lemonade, Marita Davies has just given us. And the other amazing thing is Marita now again showing a little bit of who she is. She now also develops property, and she's a property developing entrepreneur as well as a dog training top level competitor. So an all around amazing to take that what could have been a really really dark situation. You could have been in a wheelchair, you could have taken that as the end and the full stop in your journey, and yet you turned it around. Absolutely amazing, Marita. Really, I take my hat off to you, and it's a really really empowering story for everybody here.
That's really kind of you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I think sometimes it needs to be acknowledged because whilst you're busy dealing with that, you don't see actually how. It's moments like this that people would look to that story and saying, listen, if Marita can get through it, what she was thrown, and that was, at 15, your world is about your friends and your social circle, and and then bam, out of nowhere, you get thrown, a real curveball, and to be able to pick that up and to turn it, not only to turn it around, but to rise above it and to use it as actually a catalyst for great things is absolutely commendable. So, amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that and giving that a little insight. That's really really great.
That's very kind.
So moving swiftly on to dog training, let's get back. So obviously we don't know what the calendar holds at the moment for agility and the agility season. How are you keeping yourself motivated? How are you keeping your dogs in shape? What are you doing in terms of your training at home then?
Well, I think it goes back to what you said a minute ago about it was sort of creating I created new things to train. So with tricks, obviously it's endless. There's always something else you can teach. You can come up with lots of crazy different ideas. I've just filmed another 30 tricks that I didn't even know they could do that you just teach over time. So as well as that, we're adding on to new things and coming up with new crazy tricks to teach. But in terms of agility, it just gave me the chance to sit back and go, okay, what can I make better? What can I, even if, say, something Duca does, maybe I'm happy with it, but how can I get that extra 1% out of it? How can I make it even better? Because
that's at your level, certainly, sorry, interrupting, at your level, it is literally that tiny little detail that's going to make the difference between becoming podiumed or nowhere near it, isn't it? It's those tiny little things, isn't it? Yeah. And how about in terms of how are you still goal orientated? Are you keeping yourself focused on how are you working that bit mentally then?
Well, I know my long-term goals in terms of agility, and although I don't know when agility is going to come back, I know it is going to come back at some point. So I know those long-term goals still stand. So although I can't put a time scale on it, I know I can still incrementally keep working towards that. So I can go out, I can keep my training schedule the same. I can just add a little bit more fitness work to that with I can teach more tricks so they've got better skills, better body awareness. But with agility, I've just picked apart basically. I've sat and watched my some runs back that I did manage to do, say at the start of the year and the end of last season, pick them apart and found, okay, where can I save that 100th of a second? Or I had a few things like I wanted to retrain my seesaw, so I'm going back to basics with Duca and retraining it. So
and that's a dog that's an agility champion. She's been at the World Championships. She's been at Olympia and Crafts, and it's never too late to go back and to revisit Foundation. Excellent takeaway from that, Marita. The other really, really good point that you just made was about, being never the whole thing of the phrase that a very good friend of mine says is, set your goals in stone and set your plans in sand. Your short-term plans have to be flexible. So it could be that you have let's just say, if this wasn't the situation as it is, the dog could get injured, or you could get injured, or something could happen. You could have a life event that throws a bit of a curveball at you. You need to be a little bit versatile, but the big thing is to hold on to those long-term goals, because they will get you through those challenging times. So really, really great takeaway. So obviously you offer online training. So what do you offer online, and how can people reach out to you, Marita?
So with my online coaching, I offer coaching in 6-week blocks. I created it because when I was, I did a lot of training online, but I found that there was something missing in terms of, I wanted everything under one roof, and I wanted continual feedback. So I didn't want to do a course. I did many online coaching courses, and then after that period had stopped, I would go, what next? I felt I didn't want to be left alone such. I wanted continual advice. I wanted feedback all the time to keep improving and somebody watching me. So when I created my online coaching, I said, okay, I'll make 6-week blocks so they're affordable to people, but you can instantly sign back up, so you can keep coming back. So I have people that are on with me all year round because they want that continual feedback, and that's what I wanted to offer. So it's all year round online coaching. Oh, can you see me, Kamal?
No, I can't see you. No.
Oh no, hold on.
That's it. Good.
There we go. So continual coaching all year round, and then students can ask me anything basically. So it can be agility, so that's asking for drills, courses, feedback on training, or when we were competing, people would send me competition runs, and then I could help them find the places they could save time, or tricks. So I offer help teaching tricks, right from how to use a clicker up to advanced tricks.
Good.
And then also the having everything under one roof, because obviously I'm into diet and fitness so much, just like Craig, that I thought I'd offer that as well. And a lot of my students, especially when it gets to this competition season, want to get in shape and ask for sort of home workouts. Excellent. Or even diet, how they could eat a little bit better at shows and things like that. So it's a bit of everything, really.
Excellent. That's amazing. So is that, what's the website? Is it Marita Davies Agility?
Marita Davies Agility. No, sorry, MaritaDavies.com.
MaritaDavies.com. Okay, don't worry. Again, I'll put a link in the subtext so that people can pick up on that. So Marita is amazing at teaching tricks, and I managed to twist her arm and ask her to share a couple little tricks that you guys can try at home with your dogs. Again, post those on your Facebook, your Instagram, tag Marita in it, tag me in it. Let us know that you are seeing these videos and enjoying the content, and they are uplifting. So a couple little tricks you're going to share with us, Marita.
Yeah, okay, so let me just turn the camera around. Okay, so hopefully you can see.
Yep.
Okay. Half. Okay, so I thought I would demonstrate a couple of tricks that can be used just as fun tricks, or that you could relate them to agility as well. So I have a larger wobble cushion here, but you could use a cushion, a yoga block. It could be anything. So 2 different tricks I use. I like to teach feet. He's going to show me up now, isn't he? Okay, feet. So I like to teach them to back up to a wobble cushion, and to place their rear feet on them. Back. Feet, good boy. Nice. And then he should stay in position until I release him. Okay. So feet. So this is really good awareness for their hind end. Okay. Good boy. Right. Feet. Super. And then you can just keep increasing the distance across the room. Excellent. So you can do it just in your living room. Okay. The other trick that you can do, which is very similar, but I actually give it a separate name. So he's coming on from the other side. So I start on this side, and then he'll go onto the wobble cushion and put his feet into the same position. But I name it differently because of the seesaw. Okay, So because he's coming on forward,
Yep.
I call that a different trick.
Okay.
Because when he gets to the seesaw, when he gets onto the seesaw, I want him to have my seesaw cue for the end work.
Okay.
And also know that it's different to backing up. To do. Good boy.
Nice.
Super. Okay. Good boy. One more. Ready? Do. And this is how I start my seesaw work on the flat, okay? And then I build it up to racing him into position and making it harder and harder.
So great. So two simple things. The dog backing up to, so just to recap, so the dog backing up to the item, again, for body awareness, that's great for obedience dogs, for heel work, for agility dogs, for IPO dogs, all sports dogs. Just a fun trick. Teach your dog to back up into something, use a pillow, in this case it's a wobble cushion.
Yeah, you could just use a pillow.
Excellent. And the other one is to go forward in that position, again, just to get another angle, another perspective. Anything else we can do with our dogs whilst people are at home, housebound?
One of Harvey's favourite. Good boy. Left twist.
Oh, cool.
Left twist. So Harvey, this is Harvey's favourite trait. He loves to pivot.
Yep.
So, right twist. Good boy. Right twist. Oops. What's that? Right twist. Good boy. Nice. So that's cool. Harvey's favourite trick. It's his default offer if he doesn't know what I want. That one's really, really fun to teach. You teach it by starting onto a target, getting them to target an object, but not rewarding them too long for the stationary position. You have to quickly start to reward them for hind feet, rear feet movement, because if not, they then think that the trick is actually to stand still. So you need to reward them pretty quickly for giving you any movement with their back feet. And just build it up really slowly. I'm really, really generous in the beginning, and I will reward any movement. So whether it's left, right, I'll take it. And then over time, I get more specific with my criteria about which way I want them to turn.
Yeah, that's really a really good point. I think so often when people are shaping, they ask for too much too soon. They want almost the big definite gesture. And initially what you do is, I always advise people, just take anything and then like pick out little sections that you prefer and then isolate those and then etc.
Yeah, definitely.
But great.
Yeah, that's what I do, especially with a dog like Harvey, who he wants to know that he's really great, or he might get a little bit worried. I prefer just for him to offer me more and we work through it than offer me nothing.
Yeah, great point. Marita, it's been epic. Thank you very much for your time, your uplifting story. I think that's something that everybody can definitely draw on at this dark time, or the challenging time, I should say. Again, a living example of making lemonade out of lemons. So thank you very much. Your dogs are amazing. I wish you all the best in everything that you do. Thank you for your time. Love and best wishes to you both.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. See you later.